Hello, everybody. How's it going? I'm WoWcrendor, and today I am back at it with the one and only Noble. I'm pretty sure it's Noble, but some people are still. I know it's Noble, in fact, 'cause I remember fishing with you and I asked you this, but some people
Are
are
you
still like,
sure?
it's gotta be Noble. You're
Are
saying
you
it wrong.
positive that it's Noble? Are you really sure?
I'm 100% sure that I'm 87% sure.
I think the conclusion we came to is you can call me whatever you like, matey. I'm sure people will correct you. Nobody gets it right, so call me whatever you like.
All right, good. I don't get many things right anyway, which is why you're here to help me. Uh, so, apparently, if you didn't hear, the next expansion may be involving Kul Tiras.
Ooh.
And as somebody who enjoys World of Warcraft but doesn't really know much about the lore outside of what I played from WoW or Warcraft 3, because I never played Warcraft 2 or Warcraft 1.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know much about Kul Tiras. I remember going there in Warcraft 3 for a little bit. I remember I played this like 2 or 3 years ago, so it's still kind of grainy in my memory, but I'm pretty sure I went to Kul Tiras in Warcraft 3.
Could be a custom campaign. I don't remember going to Kul Tiras, to be honest. I know Kul Tiras came to Jaina, if you mean about that campaign.
I don't know. Hold on, maybe it's here. Kul Tiras, Warcraft 2, Kul Tiras. No, maybe not. I don't know. Listen, don't listen to me. I don't know anything. So we're gonna listen to you. So first off, why don't you introduce yourself for people that don't know who you are?
Hello everyone, my name is Nobbel and I make mainly lore videos for Warcraft on the YouTube, and I very much enjoy diving into the storylines and covering videos, and yeah, I like the story. That's me. I like the story.
You're a
And
mega lore nerd.
yeah, pretty much. It just kind of built up that way, to be honest. Been playing WoW since Classic, because that's one of the things you need to mention when you've been playing WoW since Classic. Warcraft 3, not that much, actually. Started that up during Wrath of the Lich King. But yeah, here we are today. I think we also need to drop in a little spoiler warning for the people. Like, if you haven't checked out the PTR, you don't want to know what might come in the future, then this video is probably not the best one to watch. I saw a lot of comments on your announcement video, by the way. In your title, you mentioned Kul Tiras, and people got upset.
Yeah. Listen. All right. It's not even a confirmed thing. It's not like, guys, I found a thing that said the Kul Tiras is the next expansion. Like, remember when we all thought Dark Below was the next expansion?
Uh-huh.
And then it wasn't. Yeah.
Then we got Draenor out of the blue.
Yeah. So, I mean, this very likely could not even be the next expansion. It could be a scenario. It could just be some little scenario they're working on, and then they're like, hey, and we're like, oh, it's not what we thought it was. But I figured it'd be good to learn about Kul Tiras anyway, with some Kul Tiras lore. So,
and it's fun to speculate about. But in this video, I am going to talk a little bit about things that we've seen on the PTR and voice lines like that. So if you're not interested in spoilers in that regard, then just be warned, right? Heads up.
yeah. So first off, let's start with the basics. What is Kul Tiras, and where is Kul Tiras?
I actually prepared a little something for you. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Are you ready? Here we go.
All right.
Way back when, 2,700 years before the Dark Portal opened up, we had King Thoradin, who united the different human clans, and over time, they started to expand throughout the Eastern Kingdoms, right? That's how areas like Lordaeron and Gilneas came to be. And for Kul Tiras, we have the boldest of the Gilneas sailors that ventured into the open waters around the area. In time, they discovered a large island to the south that was rich with metal ores and other valuable natural resources. Some of those sailors, they stayed on the island, and they founded a mighty maritime outpost named Kul Tiras. How do you pronounce that? Maritime?
I have no idea. You're asking the wrong person. I can't even say your name right.
So these people from Gilneas, they went out into the sea, they found an island, and they got founded Kul Tiras, right? Over time, these outposts and cities, they grew into mighty city-states of their very own, and they started to fracture from each other. The island bastion Kul Tiras, they continued its tradition of trading and shipping. The city-states boasted a massive navy, the greatest in all of Arathor. Its most daring captains, they explored the coast of the Eastern Kingdoms, returning with exotic goods and tales of strange lands in the remote corners of the continent. Kul Tiras a shipping and fishing economy that eclipsed the maritime powers of its northern neighbor, Gilneas. So you might say Kul Tiras is supposed to be next to Gilneas, but they actually made a little comment about that around the time of the Cataclysm. A lot of people were like, well, maybe we're going to see the Kul Tiras and all that. To which they said, hang on, where are my notes? When Deathwing broke free, the island was shifted out to the sea by shifting tectonic plates. So, yeah, it drifted out into the ocean side.
So it was by Gilneas, though.
Yeah, it was near that area. Yeah, I'll actually send you a picture from the Chronicles as well, so you can see, oh, that's where it was supposed to be, and then it just drifted off into the sea.
All right. So was this, where would this be timeline? Like, was this Warcraft 1 where all the Kul Tiras stuff was happening, or Warcraft 2?
Pretty much that timeline, like Warcraft 1 and 2. You mentioned that you didn't play those, and it's a good thing as well. If you're interested in the storyline, pretty much Warcraft 1 and 2 are not that canon anymore. And canon means that it's part of the official storyline. They've released Chronicles Volume 1 and 2, in which they clean up the lore, they try to straighten all out, and they make the actual story for it, right? And the events with Kul Tiras, as we know them with the Alliance of Lordaeron, that was back when the Horde came in for the first invasion. They wrecked Stormwind. The survivors, they fled to Lordaeron. And they were like, yo, Horde's on our planet. We need to unite. We need to stand up against these guys. And that is where Admiral Dalen Proudmoore, Jaina's father, he stepped up with the Kul Tiras Navy together with the other kingdoms. They all formed their Alliance of Lordaeron, and they started fighting back. Now, the Horde, they had sacked Stormwind. They built up their own fleet to pursue them into Lordaeron. And Dalen, of course, with his mighty warships, he tried to stop the war before it could even begin. And they were actually doing pretty damn good. They, lived out their lives on the ocean. They knew exactly how to fight there, which the orcs were not experienced with. But unfortunately, the orcs had a secret weapon. They had enslaved the Red Dragon Queen, and therefore the Red Dragon Flight. Those dragons showed up, and they wrecked Dalen's ships, unfortunately. And the Second War could begin. So, the Second War could begin.
Interesting.
It's been a long day, mate. It's been a real long day.
It's been a long day. So, like you said, Jaina's father, like they wrecked Dalen Proudmoore. So, can you get a little more in depth with that?
Well, the details in the chronicles themselves are not fully explained. For that information, we go back to the older books, like Tides of War and Beyond the Dark Portal, books like that. And there we read more in detail how the whole war played out with each other. And Dalen not only lost a lot of his ships, he also lost his son. And there was another son described in the Warcraft RPG, but again, the RPG is not canon. So we have to disregard that child, and only Jaina still remains. So Jaina is the last in his line. But eventually the Horde was defeated, the orcs were placed in internment camps, and life went on Azeroth. And as you might imagine, if there's an alien invading force trying to take your planets, most people don't really like the orcs, but Jaina was always different. She saw that the orcs had kids, and she was like, well, they're not all monsters. Surely not all of them are that bad. And then we fast forward to Warcraft 3, to be honest. So the Warcraft 1 and 2 period gets behind us.
I see. And I know Warcraft 3... actually, with this... Let's see. This would probably be after Warcraft 3 then, because there's all these Kul Tiras type encampments on Azeroth. For example, the one in Durotar, that's the wrecked one, Tierguard Keep. So did that happen after Warcraft 3? Am I saying this? Is this correct?
Yes. During Warcraft 3, if you've played the Founding of Durotar campaign with Rexxar and Chen and Volt and Thrall and all that, you eventually get to the storyline where the humans are attacking Thrall's Horde, right? And before that moment, we already had Jaina working together with the Horde and the Night Elves to defeat Archimonde. They build up Fedemol, build up Orgrimmar, and they try to keep that alliance going between each other. Some sort of peace between the humans and the orcs. But her father still remembered the time of the war, and he was like, daughter, you got it all wrong. These are monsters. They must all die. So he started the war with Thrall and his forces. Rexxar stepped up to the plate and fought back, until eventually they came to the point where they discovered that it was not Jaina who was behind the attacks. It was actually her father. and they had to do something about it. Jaina did not agree with her father's stance on the orcs. She stepped to the side. I believe she asked them to spare as many as they could, but her father, unfortunately, was not spared. He had to be taken care of. He was set in the old ways of this is the alien invading force. We cannot work with these guys. So Rexar and his troops, they took him out. And Jaina cried. It was like, Father, why wouldn't you listen? And then the guys you were talking about, the ones that you see in the encampment, they are those following Dalen's orders. And then during the Cataclysm, there was a little revamp. The entire place was shattered. And that was pretty much it, I think.
I see. So, I mean, they sound like they're pretty, I don't know if they're even a main, like, do they have a place where they have, what's it called? What am I trying to say? Kind of like Stormwind, right? Do they have their own main city that they go back to and then trade? Because I know they're more of a trading and ship type civilization. So they have like their own Stormwind over on Kul Tiras.
I imagine so, although I can't tell you what their city would be called. I have no idea. But I imagine they have like a main base going on. The way that I imagine it, and that's also we got to keep in mind, is that we haven't seen Kul Tiras in game yet. So the way that I imagine it is going to be like a seafaring place, because life on the sea is what they're all about. But yeah, that time will tell. If it actually gets into the game, we can see what's going on down there.
So they sound pretty cool, but can you, like, does it seem feasible that they could actually make an entire expansion built around them? Like, what would it have in it? What type of like things would we be fighting? Because like right now, it's like, all right, well they tried killing the orcs and doing all this, but like that seems like all that ever happened with them.
Pretty much. Well, can they build an expansion just on Kul Tiras? I would say no. But it's more of a bigger picture with all the hints that have been dropped here and there, which has got people excited. The reason why we got on Kul Tiras and why that's hot and happening right now is in the latest patch, they've data mined some armor, which is labeled Kul Tiras. It is part of apparently a quest chain or questing gear, and on it we can see some tentacles and a map. Now that's in combination with the Whispers of Il'gynoth, which is a boss from the Emerald Nightmare. He was hinting at 5 keys to open our way, 5 torches to light our path, which was speculated to be related to the 5 pillars of creation, the ones that we used in the Tomb of Sargeras to seal off the Legion Gateway, right? We also have whispers about her heart is a crater and we have filled it. The King of Diamonds has been made a pawn. King Magni, King of Diamonds, been made a pawn. He has been whispering for the spirit of Azeroth, and apparently she's been corrupted. Keep in mind that when it comes to these whispers, it's all interpretation and it's all up for speculation. A lot of people also suggest that Jaina is the one with a heart of a crater and that the old gods have filled it. Maybe. I think we should touch on that a little bit later. But yeah, we have the old gods being dropped as hints. We have then Kul Tiras with the tentacles. And next to that, in such an expansion, well, if we're going to go with a seafaring state with an island with ships, then you could imagine other islands like Telebim and Zandalar, I think. If you remember, in Mist of Pandaria, we dealt with Prophet Zul and the Zandalari, right? And Prophet Zul, he came there because their island of Zandalar was slowly sinking into the sea, but not entirely drowned out yet. That could mean that an island with King Rastakhan and the trolls could definitely be a thing. And what I find really interesting is that in the upcoming raid, we're going to have Varimafras, which is the guy that used to stand together with Sylvanas. And Varimafras, he hasn't had the best time on Argus since he failed in bringing Sargeras to the world with the Battle for the Undercity, and we find him in prison, right? And he has some things to say. For the Alliance, he says, "So your alliance still endures, longer than I expected. Though she had already planted the seeds of his downfall, she is a patient, that one. She is patient even, not a patient. That would be weird. When your thrones run red with betrayal, when your holy places burn and the shattered mask hangs above your hearth, only then you will know, and it will be too late. It matters not. You are blind to the true darkness closing in around you." Again, whispers up or voice lines up for interpretation. Some hint this or link this towards Jaina again, but I think that he's talking about Sylvanas because the Forsaken symbol that is actually a shattered mask. Then when he talks to the hordes, he says, "So, she found me at last. Send her underlings to finish the job. Tell me, when she seized your throne of hides and bones, was your allegiance forced? No, I'd wager you surrendered it willingly, or were convinced you did. It matters not, you were blind to the darkness in your midst." So, Varimafras used to work together with Sylvanas. She has found me at last. She sent her underlings to finish the job, right? The hordes, Sylvanas is the war chief. And then the one that I find really interesting is that he asks us, was your allegiance forced? You surrendered it willingly, or were convinced that you did? And let's remember how Sylvanas became the war chief. It was Vol'jin who was listening to the spirits, who whispered her name, and they whispered Sylvanas. Sylvanas has a very close ties to the underworld. So I'm wondering if they're going with a manipulation story arc here. Are they setting it up in such a way that Vol'jin, he thought that he was listening to the spirits, that they tried to give him good advice? Well, in actuality, it was Sylvanas who wanted to become war chief for a reason. And then his final lines are, better that you died here, where she cannot claim you. Death claims us all. Which I find really cool, because we gotta imagine that the aftermath of the Burning Legion, basically the score on Azeroth is that a whole bunch of people died, and who would better profit from that than someone like Sylvanas? So I wonder if they're going with a corrupted war chief arc again, because as we know, that's very, very original. But it could also tie in back to Vol'jin. Like, if Vol'jin was deceived and he finds out that the spirits he was listening to were not the right ones, imagine him coming back as a Loa, or coming back on the Troll Island and be like, "Sylvanas, Sylvanas, you must pay."
And then we could have an expansion where we fight Sylvanas.
Well, that is something, like, when people suggest Jaina being a bad guy, way back when, before Garrosh was put up as the bad war chief, a lot of people were like, okay, we're going to deal with Sylvanas. She's been doing so much crazy stuff. She is the one supposed to be the bad guy of the Horde.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense for putting her in such a role. But then again, another war chief needs to be taken down. Another war chief corrupted. I don't think that a lot of people would like to see that. I personally wouldn't. Not to mention that Sylvanas just has a massive fan base behind her. So then maybe it would be better to have Sylvanas indeed manipulating Vol'jin, but not out of her own will, but say that the Lich King has some role to play with it. Her Valkyr has some role to play with it. They could do a lot of cool stuff with that.
I know a lot of people have been saying that the Naga might be involved a lot if that were. So, like, do you think we'd have a lot of Naga raids, almost BC-esque?
I'm thinking more Kata-esque, like Vajir. Under the sea, down where it's wetter.
Yeah. Under the sea, diddle-a-doot-doot-doot-doot-doot.
See, there was a reason why I was listening before.
Yeah.
But yeah, Azara and the Naga, they have been closely linked to the Old Gods. If you played through the Vajir area, you've already seen a couple of minions of the Old Gods popping up here and there. So that definitely could play a part. Now, we also got to keep in mind that there is a whole different side of Azeroth never discovered yet. So if we're looking at landmass that we need to play on, and they want to go with Azeroth again, they could open up that entire area and be like, look, there's a new area to play in.
That actually does sound like something they would do. I mean, they did reveal Pandaria being like, look, it's in the mists. And now it's here. It's like, oh, all right.
Surprise! Yeah.
So, I've also heard that Jaina's mother might be at Kul Tiras, but nobody knows, or if she even has a mother.
Yeah, her mother's never really been mentioned in the storyline, so that's anyone's guess, to be honest.
Yeah, it could be one of those like Disney movie type things, just like Ariel.
Just like...
She might be a mermaid.
Who knows?
We don't know. Yeah.
But the thing is, why so many people connect Kul Tiras with Jaina and the corruption is, for those that haven't been keeping up, Jaina, she left the Kirin Tor at the start of Legion. Ketka was like, look, Jaina, we know you had it rough. We know your city got blown up. You got betrayed from within. And we know that you don't like the Horde. But listen, we're dealing with the Legion. Everybody needs to help out. Stop your bitching. Let the Horde back in. To which Jaina was like, well, you can vote on it. I'll respect your decision. But if you let the Horde back in, then count me out. And the council voted. and they voted to let the Horde back in, and Jaina was out. So a lot of people wondered at that point, where does Jaina go? And there was an interview with the Warcraft devs in which the same question was asked. They were like, hey, what's happening with Jaina? And Jaina's storyline, it didn't fit their narrative that they wanted to tell in Legion. You can't give everybody the spotlight. You can't cover every little story. So Jaina just didn't get a role to play, which of course leads to a lot of speculation. And where do you go when you've lost Faramir, when you've lost Dalaran? For someone like Jaina, Kul Tiras is the most logical choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then we have to wonder, Jaina stood to the side when she let her father die. Like, how do the people of Kul Tiras respond to that? Next to that, is the leadership of Kul Tiras, is it a bloodline, or is it something that you have to earn? And Jaina has never been a seafarer, as far as I remember. I don't think she spent a lot of time in Dalaran playing around with ships. She was more the mage rather than the admiral on sea. So imagine you're being Kul Tiras, you're all about that sea life. Why would you accept someone like Jaina to be your leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was wondering about that.
Who would be their leader now?
Nobody knows. The Dalim line of the Proudmoore line ends with Jaina, as far as we know. So it could really be anybody that's taken up the role there.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking. Like, she could come back and be like, "Hey, I'm here," and they're like, "We already moved past you."
Right? Like, you let your daddy die. What are you doing back here?
Yeah.
And then, that's when we come to the corruption speculation. Some say that she's been taken over by the old gods, and that the armor of Kul Tiras, because it has the tentacles on it, that Kul Tiras itself has also been taken over by the old gods. Therefore, it is corrupted. That could be a reason for them to accept their leadership, but I would personally like to see Kul Tiras not corrupted, rather be the spearhead in the fight against the old gods. Because we right now are partying in Argus, we're partying in space. How do we transition from that back into an old god story arc? And what better way to do it than with Kul Tiras?
So, I know it's obviously the old gods. They're kind of like the common term you get thrown around, like it's the old gods, or like the old gods, but like, what are there any specific old gods, or like, can you get a little more in depth with the old gods? So I know there's Yogg-Saron, I know there's Cthulhu, but those are like really the only old gods I think I know.
Right, the old gods. That goes back to the very origin of the Warcraft universe. In the beginning, there was light and there was void. They clashed with each other, and the universe was born. A lot of things came to be in that universe. Amongst them were the Void Lords. And the Void Lords is a little bit vague. I kind of see them like the antimatter of the actual reality. But the Void Lords, they saw the Titans do their thing of bringing order to the planets. And they were like, hey, we want to do something like that as well, except we want to corrupt everything and destroy everything. And maybe we can corrupt these Titans. The only problem was that the Titans were pretty much immune to their corruption. So instead, they decided to pool their powers together and send out these old gods into the universe to infect planets. And inside these planets are Titan spirits. They figured if we can't corrupt a mature Titan, then we'll take them when they're most vulnerable. We'll take them when they're still slumbering inside their planets. That is the whole reason why Sargeras eventually found out about these plans. And he pooped his pants. He was like, oh boy, we cannot let these Void Lords take over the universe. We got to do something. And that is why he started the Burning Legion, the Burning Crusade, and started to try and destroy the universe. Because he figured to himself, a universe destroyed is better than one corrupted by the Void Lords. And if life came to be once before, perhaps after we scoured it clean, it could happen again. So we have these old gods flying through space, infecting as many planets as they can. And they crash on the planets with a Titan spirit inside. The planet of Azeroth, because we too have a slumbering Titan spirit. And on our planet, we have Cthulhu, Yogg-Saron, N'Zoth, and Y'Shaarj. Am I forgetting one? No, 4 old gods. Used to be 5. Yeah. So we have those old gods on the planets. They're partying. They have their Black Empire, as it was back in the day. It was called. They had the Elemental Lords enslaved. They had all these bug creatures and Kafraxi running around and faceless ones. It was a mess. And the Titan spirits, she was having some very bad dreams. So the Pantheon, the Titans, they find Azeroth, and rather than following Sargeras' example of destroying everything, they were like, maybe if we just help them out, and maybe if we just cleanse this corruption, maybe the Titan spirit will be okay. So they went about, they made their Titan keepers, the ones that you see in Ulduar, right? Like Thorim and Odin and all those guys. They waged a war with the Black Empire. They tossed the elemental lords to their own elemental planes, and they kicked the crap out of the old gods. Now, when it comes to Yasharaj, that was the one mentioned during Mr. Pandaria all this time. Yasharaj was the one old god that the Titans hands-on dealt with. They ripped it out of the planet, but when they did, they figured out that was kind of an oopsie, because it left a massive wound behind, where the Titan spirits, its life essence, its powers, it started pouring out. So they couldn't just rip out these old gods, they had to do something else. To band-aid that wound that they created the Well of Eternity, which is now the Maelstrom, if you know that, with the whole Night Elf War of the Ancients story arc. Now the other old gods, they decided to imprison them. We have Kafun in Silithus, Yaxaron in Northrend, N'Zoth somewhere beneath the bottom of the sea. We don't really know exactly where he is. Some suggest maybe the Tomb of Sargeras, but we haven't really seen him yet. And those guys have been imprisoned into the world. A lot of corruption, a lot of whispers, a lot of storylines like Deathwing took place. And we, from time to time, actually fight against these old gods. But those, you got to keep in mind that is just a teeny tiny portion of their power, a teeny tiny manifestation that they've been able to push out of their prison, and the rest of them are still beneath the planet. Like, you gotta imagine Yaxaron is the size of Northrend, as has been suggested. So say that we do go into this old god expansion. What I think would be really cool is not just have N'Zoth show up, as he now has a Hearthstone card and a model and all that, but have him break out his brothers and let them rule the world again and have like a Black Empire party. I think that would be absolutely massive.
So, you mentioned there's only 4 instead of 5 as well. Like, what happened to the 5th one?
Retcon.
Classic.
Out of existence. let me look up just to be certain, by the way, because I'm doing this from...
Alright.
But, yeah, there used to be 5 evil gods imprisoned beneath the world. That was the very origin lore that they came up with. But, of course, with the Chronicles, they decided to clean it all up a little bit. And they changed the number.
I know with N'Zoth as well, like in Hearthstone, he does the whole bring everyone back from the dead type thing. Like, is that his special type of powers or whatever? Is he's more with the undead and the whatever it would be? Not undead, but...
Nah, not really, because we also have Yaxaron that like duplicates the spells that you do, and he doesn't really do that in game as far as I know.
Okay. So Hearthstone's just like, give him an ability.
Right. Hearthstone is more a fun take on the Warcraft lore, as we now have with the new expansion, where all these heroes are turned into the undead soldiers and whatnot. While sometimes ideas from Hearthstone are implemented in WoW, for example, the Explorers League with Sir Finley and all that. They're now live, and the light spawn that the priest uses, that's now in the game. So sometimes ideas copy over, but N'Zoth bringing people back to life, maybe it's a hint. Maybe it's a hint to N'Zoth freeing the rest of his old gods and bringing them back to the world. And I was right, by the way. It's now indeed 4 old gods rather than 5. Yeah.
All right.
So who knows? Might be a hint. It was funny back when with Tyrion, and people were like, oh my god, did you see it in Hearthstone? Tyrion dies and gives you your weapon. Did you see it? See it? It's in the game now as well. Since Tyrion dies, it gives you the Ashbringer. Like, yep. Yep, predicted.
Well, let's see here. Let's see, I'm trying to think. Oh, I guess with the whole Jaina corruption thing, we can talk about Jaina being a Dreadlord. So... I know Jesse thought up that theory, which has become almost not like a meme at this point. Like, people are actually starting to believe it. And I think he thought it up because Jaina was at Theramore, and when it got bombed, he figured she died at Theramore, and then the Dreadlords took her appearance, and so that's what he believes happened. Is that plausible?
Well, when it comes to theories like that, it's very hard to disprove it, right? Like anybody can be taken over by a dreadlord. You could say that Anduin's corrupt by a dreadlord, or Thrall is, or there isn't much that you can say against it, rather than well, we're a couple of expansions further in now, and what has she exactly done to manipulate and corrupt things? Which is a standard dreadlord thing to do, which she really hasn't done.
That's
So
like, I guess it's kind of like saying, like, oh man, I bet there's a demon on the dark side of the moon, but because we haven't seen it yet, it's almost like it's not wrong, but it's yeah.
It's hard to disprove, right? And I find it pretty damn awesome, by the way, how a somewhat joke, somewhat real comment has been turned into, oh yeah, that's the theory right now. That's what's going on. And the thing with the Jaina corruption is, I see a lot of people that want to take a swing at her because of the things that happen in game. And for those that have not been keeping up, it's a very, very long story. Basically, it's a very gray storyline as to who's right and who's wrong. A lot of attacks and responses to all these things. But regardless of that story arc, at the end of the day, for those that do want to see Jaina as a bad guy, I just wonder, why would you want to see it in the form of an old god corruption or a dreadlord corruption? We could say a lot of things about what they've done with Garrosh's storyline, but the one thing that I found really, really good on that storyline is that they clearly stated Garrosh was not corrupted. He was working out of his own actions, out of his own mind, and there was no outside force manipulating him. And that's, in my opinion, gives a lot of strength to a character and a lot of strength to a storyline, rather than go, oh, you know, it's just the dreadlord corrupting things and manipulating things. What's the fun in that? Not to mention that when you actually have a gray story arc for once, because most of the time it's very black and white, right? Like, this is the Burning Legion is the bad guy, and we are the good guys, you know, very black and white. Whereas if you finally have a gray storyline, why would you want to corrupt it like that and be like, yeah, it's purely because of a corruption? I really, really like the actions and the reactions that were taken. I feel like it's a very realistic way of dealing with things, rather than, for example, a variant at the end of Siege of Orgrimmar was like, oh yeah, if you ever do this again, then we'll end you. You've been very naughty, Horde. We've been fighting for a very long time, but the next time, ooh. Like, I rather have Jaina's responses in that regard.
Yeah. So here's another thing I was thinking about. With the whole armor set being out there and everyone being like, look, there's the map and the tentacles and all that. Like, why do you think Blizzard would put that in and almost kind of leak an expansion? Or I don't know if they meant to do it. I don't know if they're just playing with people. Like, let's put it play. I don't get why they would just kind of have that be in there. Because I don't think it's an accident. Like, they put a lot of effort into these armor sets and everything to, like they could have just put them in gear and not put the map on it. Like, why'd they attach the map to it? Like, there's just a lot of questions.
Yeah, well, it's hard to say what Blizzard is thinking, of course. And is it an accident? I don't think so. I think Blizzard is very good at manipulating hype, like really, really good at that. So I don't think it's an accident. I think it's definitely the push forward towards it. And the whole Kul Tiras Old God expansion, it's not anything new, right? We knew for a very long time that the next storyline, it was either going to be dealing with the Old Gods on Azeroth, or we're going to go into the Great Dark Beyond. And with the information that we have right now, it seems like 90% certain that we're going to go back to Azeroth and deal with that. Why put it in the game? Hard to say, you especially in this patch, because 7.3 seems to be all about Argus. But at some point, we are going to have to make the transition from dealing with the freaking Burning Legion and Sargeras in outer space, and now we're going to deal with the Old Gods and back home again. So that is going to need a transition in storyline. So maybe that's what's going on here. Maybe it's part of a scenario or questing experience. Anyone's guess at this point, to be honest.
I mean, it's possible it could even be a patch, somewhat like Argus is.
Yeah.
Because I mean, when we had to, when we, I can't words right now. Hold on, let me drink coffee. So
yeah, at least you don't have the squeaky voice like I got going on. That's a plus. Hi.
All right, rewind. So me and Jesse got to interview Ian, the main WoW dev, and he was telling us that with Argus, they did Argus as a patch because they didn't think there was enough content with Argus to really give it its own expansion, and that they were going to try doing something like that back in Burning Crusade, but they like pushed it off, and they were like, it'll be better down the line.
Did he say that during the Burning Crusade? Really?
Yeah, it was something like they were planning on doing Argus with that. It's in my interview. He actually talks about it. Don't listen to me. I'm very bad at relaying information and talking. But yeah,
so go check out the interview right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So what this makes me think almost is that this could be another Argus, but for a future expansion. Because from everything we've talked about, it doesn't sound like there's a whole lot of substance, unless they add more to it, which they possibly could. Like maybe there's a bunch of islands, and then you got, instead of having one big continent, you got islands, and you travel between the islands or something. I don't know. But do you think that's a strong possibility, or do you think there is enough for an expansion? I know you said there is, but like, what else would they have to add in addition to Kul Tiras? 'Cause I don't think it can just be like, oh, here's the Jaina's home, and like the old gods are over here, and that's it.
Well, besides Kul Tiras, like I mentioned, it's the bigger picture. So imagine Kul Tiras, imagine Ajara and the Naga and their kingdom under the sea. Imagine the different islands like Tel Aviv, maybe even going back to the Goblin starting area and see the other side of that.
That's
the
true.
others, yeah, that's still a thing they could explore. The other side of Azeroth, like a whole. Imagine what we have right now, only duplicates. Like they could add a huge ton of landmass to that because they got the other side of the planet to work with, which could then flow into something like Nyalova, which is this weird ass puzzle box of Yaxaron Whisper, a realm, an area which we don't really know much about. We just know it exists. Imagine Nyalova being something connected to the realm of the Void Lords, which would then flow into confronting possibly the Void Lords themselves or something like that. Like, there's a lot that they can work with there.
All right. Well, that gives me
And
more
of-
hope then.
And of course, the old gods breaking out of prisons. Let's not disregard that. A Black Empire kind of deal.
Well, it makes it, when you say breaking out of prisons, I just picture like a bunch of old gods in a cell, and they're just like, keep quiet in there, old gods. He's like, I'll get out of here one day.
Just this guy coming out with a plan back on his tattooed on his back. Like, this is how we're gonna go out.
He's got Kul Tiras' map on his back, tattooed.
That's what the map is for. That's how they're gonna break out.
It all makes sense.
Yep.
It's just a tattoo.
But all we know, like the Kul Tiras armor, it is data mined. Like, keep that in mind. This is all speculation and data mined information. For all we know, it's just transmog.
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, surprise, here's another Mr. Pandaria or Warlords of Draenor. But it seems very likely that it's connected to what's to come. And what you mentioned, as in a new patch building up towards the next storyline in the expansion, could definitely be a thing. Now, we're getting closer to BlizzCon this year, so I'm guessing an announcement, right?
I think so. I mean, with Legion, they announced Legion at Gamescom, didn't they?
Yep.
And that's at the end of August, so maybe we'll hear something at Gamescom as well, and then a little more at BlizzCon. Who knows?
Yeah, trailer BlizzCon again, and then we're gonna fly into the next expansion.
Yeah, and I mean, if we have a Kul Tiras expansion, they'll bring back ship garrisons. You know?
Yay, everybody's favorite. Well, to be
Everyone's
fair, I wouldn't be against a shipyard, but not in the way that they created there in Draenor. If
Yeah.
they're gonna go with a shipyard, I wanna pilot my ships. I wanna set
Exactly.
sail across the sea and have freaking water battles with people and have my guild on the cannons and shoot everybody. I want that. And I've been thinking about what could they potentially add to the game as well. Imagine Kul Tiras being a very neutral area. Like, we have Jaina, who's like, screw you Horde, screw you Alliance, I don't want anything to do with you. Imagine them being the mercenaries of Azeroth, the pirate faction, and they, as a benefit, can queue up with anyone they want. You can be Horde, you can be Alliance, they can party with anyone. I think that would be a really cool mechanic.
That actually does sound cool. It's almost like a gadget sin or something. And then
Yeah, pretty much. Like just get weekly quest on what faction offers you the most booty that you want, and you sign up to work for the Horde that week, or you work up for the Alliance that week. I think that would be brilliant. Add a pirate class to it.
Like, now that you're mentioning it, I think it'd be really cool to have your own ship that you would drive around in, and then actually, you know what? They had boat day, where you did build your own ship and drive around in it.
There
oh my
you go.
god!
They're testing out the waters.
They're testing out the waters with the micro holidays. People thought those micro holidays are useless. Wrong. They're testing out new expansion features. Oh my god! I think we cracked a code today.
And of course, when it comes to the classes that we could play, imagine Naga defecting from Azora and thinking that she's gone too far, or Murlocs. Like, Murlocs have been requested for a very long time. I only think the problem is with those races is the armor. Like, they gotta work with the old armor sets, which I don't think they could. But I'm still for it.
Yeah, I would love to play a Murloc. Yes. They can just be like the new gnomes, essentially.
Yeah. Neutral race can be both for both factions or none at all. Oh yeah. Gimme.
All right. Well, I think we've speculated and gotten into pretty much all I wanted to cover. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, not really. I think we pretty much covered all the things that are talked about right now. Yeah, I'm very excited for the ending of Legion, man. Have you seen the Datamine voice lines and all that?
I have not seen those.
Ooh, well, the ending is pretty much available for those that are interested in it. I can't wait to see it play out in game. I really can't.
Well, I mean, we could put up a little spoiler thing, and you can talk about that for a bit.
Nah.
Or would you rather save it?
Nah,
would you rather put relevant. It up on your own channel, where people can go and see you?
I have it up on my own channel, but nah, it's not relevant to what we talk about today. All in all, like, your worries about is Kul Tiras enough? I think they can add plenty of storyline there to tell. What do you think, by the way? I've been thinking about this myself. Like, Legion builds up as this super force with order halls and artifacts.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go from that to something else? What do you think they're going to do with it?
I think with the artifact weapons, we're going to end up just giving them back to their heroes. Like, Thrall will be like, here's your Doomhammer back, Thrall, and he'll be like, you used it well.
It's a bit dented, but okay.
The main reason I say that is because when we interviewed them at BlizzCon last year, or it might have been 2 years ago even, we asked them about the artifact weapons, like, what are we going to do when we're done with them? And they were like, well, you know, we might give them back to the heroes. And I was like, oh god, we are just going to give them back. We're gonna have them, and then it's like, here you go. I used your sword, Mr. Lich King. Just, I don't know. But I think that is what's gonna happen. And I don't know what they're gonna do with weapons moving forward. They might just do the same type of weapon system, but change the name of it, or go back to the old way. But I don't know.
I'm curious to see it though. Like, Legion felt very much like they just tossed everything at us. Like, this is an idea, and this is an idea, and not really thinking about, oh, maybe this will have an effect on the next expansion, but we'll see. We'll see how it's all going to go down.
I'm sure they'll think up something, or they'll retcon something in to make it work.
It was all a dream. Legion never happened.
I'm mainly excited because we're not going to have demons anymore, because I'm kind of tired of demons at this point.
Yes.
And the
we're going to go from green to purple, man. Just everything's going to be purple and black.
Yeah. So let's put a percentage on it. What's the percentage you think of the Kul Tiras expansion happening?
90%.
Shit, dude.
Yeah. And with the 10% remaining to go into the Great Dark Beyond. But again, I know the final voice lines, so I know where we're going to go. And yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me today.
Anytime, mate. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. If you want to get into lore and you want to learn everything there is to know about the world of Warcraft,
go to WoWpedia.com and just read up the articles. I mean, check out my YouTube channel.
Check out Nobbel's YouTube channel. I'll put a link in the description.
Sweet.
Yeah, you got everything over there. You got the voice lines. You've got basic lore knowledge. You've got I think you've got a video for just a billion things.
Pretty much, yeah. I got storylines or characters. You like the Lich King? Got a video for that. You like Sylvanas? Got a video for that. You like speculation? I predicted expansions like 3 years ago. I was listening back to speculating on a future video, and I predicted pretty much Legion, and there was also the water expansion in that one. So basically, what I'm saying is Blizzard just copies my work. Just saying.
You're like Nostradamus, Nobbel87.
Nah, that's Jesse's title.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you the next time I need lore help.
Anytime. If you want to fish, you want to talk lore, you know where I am.
Yeah. All right. See you later.
See ya.
See ya.